Have you ever looked around at the world or, even just at your own life and felt completely overwhelmed? Just how complex and chaotic everything seems, like
Hmm.
nothing quite makes sense and order is just, well, fleeting.
Definitely.
Well, what if there was an underlying logic, like a deep rhythm to reality that actually means everything at its core is tending towards coherence? Today, we're diving deep into the ambitious philosophical framework of Brooke Tamsin Clevenger, specifically her Being Okay trilogy, Everything's Okay, Not Okay, and Becoming Okay.
Right.
Her work offers a really fascinating guide, I think, to understanding how stability can, and maybe often does, emerge from what feels like just infinite possibilities.
That's right. And Clevenger brings a truly unique perspective. With her background as a technologist, an artist, and a philosopher, she offers this powerful lens that bridges, ancient philosophical wisdom with modern systems theory. She helps us see how existence moves from maybe an ideal state of alignment through moments of pretty profound dissonance and then into this continuous dynamic process of growth and recalibration. It's definitely a journey, not like a static destination.
Our mission, then, for this deep dive is really to provide you with a powerful conceptual toolkit. We want to help you understand not just why things sometimes feel like they're falling apart,
Hmm.
but maybe more importantly, how they can come back together in really meaningful ways, sometimes even stronger than before.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Let's start with the central, maybe audacious idea from Everything's Okay,
Hmm.
this universal principle that complexity naturally tends towards stable, meaningful configurations, not endless chaos.
Right.
And it's not just, positive thinking. Clevenger presents it as a reasoned affirmation.
Hmm.
She suggests that even when things feel like they're in total free fall, there's an inherent logic kind of guiding them toward order.
And what's truly foundational to her premise here is what she calls the 0 point of knowing. It stems from Descartes' I think, therefore I am.
Okay, the classic.
Exactly. This minimal certainty, she argues, profoundly implies that consciousness itself requires an underlying order. Think about it. If reality were just pure, unfathomable chaos, a coherent observer like you simply couldn't exist.
Huh. Right.
So the mere fact of your conscious awareness is actually powerful evidence that the universe is inclined toward coherence. It's sort of designed, you could say, to allow stable patterns to emerge.
And to really get how this happens, Clevenger introduces this conceptual model she calls the SAP triad. That's singularity, harmonic field, and plane of incidential. Let's try and break that down, starting with singularity S. What exactly is that?
Okay, so the singularity. Think of it as the boundless realm of all conceivable potential, just raw possibility without any form yet. It's the infinite pool of everything that could be, the ultimate unmanifested state.
Right, pure potential. So if singularity is everything that could be, how does anything actually become something? This brings us to the harmonic field. This sounds like the crucial filter, the sorting mechanism. How does she describe its role?
Exactly, the harmonic field. That's Pharmonic. Yeah. Almost like harmonic, but with that nod to pharma, meaning to produce or to filter. It is the dynamic environment. It tests and sorts through all those potentials bubbling up from the singularity.
Okay.
It's the criteria, the processes that discard the incoherent patterns and amplify the stable ones. You see this everywhere, right? In physics, it's the natural laws allowing planets to form stably.
Right, not just gas clouds forever.
Exactly. And in human affairs, it's ethical principles that allow societies to cohere, to function. Think of it as the universe's inherent quality control, basically selecting for what works, what endures.
And the result of this filtering process, the actual thing that shows up, the manifested outcome, is the plane of incidention.
Hmm.
This is where all that infinite possibility
Hmm.
kind of condenses into coherent reality. I like the analogy you mentioned earlier, like a musician tuning strings.
Yeah, that works well. The singularity is every possible frequency, infinite noise. The harmonic field is the musician's ear, and the act of tuning, selecting the harmonious notes, the coherent
In
frequencies,
the plane of incidention.
is the beautiful, coherent music that actually emerges, the stable pattern.
Okay, so connecting this to the bigger picture then, Clevenger really emphasizes ethical coherence as a primary complexity filter within that harmonic field.
Yes, this is huge for her.
So what does she mean by that? It's not just about being nice.
Not just nice, no. She means that things like honesty, reliability, empathy, rational deliberation, These aren't just, feel-good moral choices. They are, in fact, strategic necessities.
Strategic necessities. Okay.
Because they reduce friction, they build trust, and ultimately they lead to stable relationships, enduring institutions, resilient markets. The really profound takeaway here is that ethical action isn't just good in a moral sense, it's effective. It's effective for managing complexity and creating stable realities that last.
So doing the right thing actually works better on a fundamental systemic level. That's fascinating.
So much, yeah.
And here's where it gets really liberating, I think. You mentioned earlier that our consciousness plays a role. How does Clevenger describe our own minds acting as a complexity filter in this grand scheme?
Well, she posits that consciousness itself acts as a complexity filter. Our minds are constantly refining internal potentials, our thoughts, our intentions, our impulses into constructive decisions and coherent actions.
Okay.
The very fact that your thoughts don't just instantly fragment into incoherent noise, the fact that you can reason, hold stable memories, plan for the future, that proves the universe is inclined toward coherence.
So my own mind is proof.
In a way, yes. The deep insight is that you're not some random outsider in a meaningless cosmos. Your consciousness is a living, breathing testament to that universal tendency towards order. And realizing that, really internalizing it, can profoundly undercut a lot of existential anxieties.
Wow. And if we truly grasp that, it kind of flips the script on something really fundamental, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like the idea of scarcity.
Yeah.
What does Clevenger say about a post-scarcity mindset in light of all this?
Exactly. Clevenger argues that if ethical coherence is consistently applied, say, to resource management, economics, social structures, it could fundamentally lead to abundance for all.
Not just managing scarcity, but creating abundance.
Yes. It shifts our focus from zero-sum competition, where one person's gain is another's loss, to shared flourishing and collective well-being. The powerful, maybe anti-intuitive insight is that the very act of being ethical isn't just a moral choice, it's a strategy. A strategy that literally enables the creation of more for everyone by reducing waste, friction, and conflict.
Okay, now, everything's okay paints this grand, almost utopian vision of coherence.
Yeah.
But not okay. Well, the title says it all. It pivots to a crucial reality. Life often feels anything but aligned.
Right, the dissonance.
Exactly. Clevenger introduces dissonance not as something to fear, not an enemy to conquer, but as a vital signal for transformation. It's like a blinking light, a call to look closer, a pointer to where understanding and growth really need to begin.
And many of us have felt what Clevenger describes as being overwhelmed by the stream and living in the static. You know that feeling.
Oh yeah, information overload.
Totally. It's the constant flood of internal and external input. Endless notifications, the internal chatter, constant demands that just fragments the mind, leads to distraction, sometimes paralysis. She explains that quieting this noise is essential. It allows clarity to finally emerge from the background. It's about finding that stillness, even for a moment, amidst the storm.
That makes so much sense. And related to paralysis, Clevenger said something interesting. Motion is what disrupts the freeze, not clarity. That sounds almost counterintuitive when you're paralyzed by the weight of too much choice.
Yeah.
How does she advise we break the freeze?
It's a really powerful point, isn't it? When we're faced with just an overabundance of options, we often freeze up, usually rooted in a fear of making the wrong choice.
Definitely. Analysis paralysis.
Exactly. Clevenger's insight is that you don't need to know the perfect step, the absolutely correct path. You just need to take a step. Any step.
Just move.
Just move. Even a small intentional action disrupts the paralysis. Motion creates feedback, right? And that feedback is what begins to bring clarity. It's about building momentum, however small, just to get out of that stuck state.
This raises an important question, though. Why does scarcity often feel so pervasive, so real, even when, maybe, theoretically, there's enough? Clevenger tackles this with scarcity by design. What's that about?
Yeah, this is critical. She notes that while scarcity often feels like a personal failure or burden, it's frequently embedded in our societal systems that prioritize competition over connection, profit over people.
So it's systemic.
Often, yes. And naming the shadow, recognizing this intentionally designed or maintained scarcity is crucial because it challenges the narrative that it's just an inevitable, natural part of life. When you see that some scarcity is a design choice, you gain the agency to question and maybe even start dismantling those structures.
And when we look outwards at the darkness of the world, global crises like climate change, political instability, widespread inequality, it can feel like magnified chaos hitting our personal lives. It creates this awful feedback loop of dissonance. What's Clevenger's approach here? How do we not get swallowed by it?
It's tough. She suggests that breaking this loop doesn't mean ignoring the big problems, because we can't. But it means focusing on small, intentional actions within our reach.
Okay, focus small.
Focus where you have agency. By
Hmm.
choosing to align our personal actions with ethical coherence, even in small ways, we create these little ripples of order. And those ripples can push back against the amplified chaos. It's about finding your locus of control and acting authentically from there.
It's easy, though, when things feel that overwhelming, to fall into what she calls the seductive whisper of nihilism,
Yeah.
right? Or the trap of disengagement, just checking out. How does Clevenger advise we resist that pull?
It's definitely seductive, isn't it? That feeling of, if nothing matters, then the chaos can't hurt me. But Clevenger argues it's an illusory escape. Resisting this pull of the abyss, as she puts it, requires actively choosing small acts of engagement, reestablishing connections, however minor, actively creating meaning through action, even when it feels pointless initially. It's about choosing to show up, even imperfectly, rather than withdrawing completely.
And what about our internal world? Those emotions out of control, the surges of fear, anger, despair. Clevenger reframes these reactive forces. They aren't character flaws, she says, but powerful signals. How does choosing reflection over reflex help us navigate those?
Well, she emphasizes that by pausing, just taking a breath, acknowledging what we're feeling without judgment, and then consciously aligning our response with our deeper values. That's how we reclaim our agency.
Instead of just reacting.
Exactly. Instead of being driven by immediate, often destructive impulses, it's about creating that crucial space between the stimulus and your response. That space allows you to choose a path of coherence, aligned with who you want to be, rather than just lashing out or shutting down in reaction.
So ultimately, this whole section on not okay seems to emphasize that internal chaos often mirrors external patterns, and confronting your shadow, those hidden, maybe uncomfortable parts of yourself, with curiosity, not judgment, is key.
Absolutely. That allows for integration and wholeness. This is what she calls the alchemy of dissonance, actively transmuting that tension, that fragmentation into profound understanding and real personal growth. It's where the not okay becomes the fuel for becoming.
Okay, that transitions us perfectly into the third book, Becoming Okay. This shifts our focus from the ideal state and the difficult signals to the actual path forward. It sounds like it's all about accepting that life is fundamentally life as motion.
That's the core idea.
So true balance isn't some static, perfect stillness we achieve and hold on to forever.
Not at all. It's a continuous ebb and flow, a dynamic process of recalibration. It means always being in motion, always adjusting, always finding your rhythm within the constant flux of life.
And within that motion, Clevenger explores the dance of opposites and the art of holding the tension. How does she see tension? Not as something bad.
Not necessarily. She sees it as a creative force. She suggests that real possibility, true growth, often emerges precisely from embracing the tension between contrasts like light and dark, order and chaos, stability and change. By not shying away from these inherent tensions but learning to hold them, we can expand our perspective and unlock new possibilities. It's about seeing the creative potential within paradox itself.
And this translates directly into practical skills, like the art of adjusting and the dance of flexibility. How does Clevenger view adaptation in this context? Is it just compromising?
No, it's not about just giving up on your direction or values. Adaptation, in Clevenger's view, means staying deeply connected to your core values while making flexible, intelligent adjustments to changing circumstances.
So values anchor you, but your approach can shift.
Exactly. You view challenges not as roadblocks stopping you, but as opportunities to learn, grow, and find new, authentic ways forward that are still aligned with your core. It's a continuous, value-guided responsiveness to reality.
I find this next concept really powerful, especially for anyone who likes to think they have things figured out. Clevenger talks about infinite testability and infinite refinement. What does that mean for how we approach knowledge or even our own beliefs?
Ah, yes, this is a really potent one. Infinite testability and infinite refinement. It basically means that no idea, no personal model of the world, no scientific theory, no belief system is ever final or absolute. It's never done.
Okay, so always be open to being wrong, or rather, open to improving.
Precisely. Instead of resisting new data, anomalies, or challenges to our understanding, Clevenger argues we should welcome them. They are opportunities for deeper understanding. This fosters what she calls intellectual anti-fragility.
Anti-fragility, meaning you get stronger from shocks.
Exactly. The ability to grow stronger, wiser, even more resilient, because of challenges and new information, not in spite of them. It's about remaining fundamentally open to evolving your understanding indefinitely.
I love that. Growing stronger from what seems to break our models. And Clevenger takes this even further with the freedom in impermanence. How does embracing the fact that nothing lasts forever actually impact our lives positively? It sounds kind of sad initially.
It can sound sad, but she reframes it. Embracing the truth that everything changes, that nothing lasts forever, actually frees us from clinging too tightly, from rigid expectations. It allows for the flow of release.
Letting go.
Letting go, yes. It helps us find joy in the moment because we're not constantly worried about losing it or comparing it to some imagined future. It encourages us to live lightly without the heavy burden of trying to control everything or hold on to things past their time. It's a profound liberation from the anxiety of permanence.
Her idea of the spiral of growth also seems to capture how our journeys really unfold. It's not linear, right? It's not just step A, step B, done.
Definitely not. It's a nonlinear process. So, revisiting old themes, maybe old struggles or questions you thought you'd answered, that isn't a failure. It's not going backwards.
So it's okay if I find myself dealing with the same issue again.
Absolutely. It's actually an opportunity to move forward with new depth and awareness. You're seeing familiar territory, but from a transformed perspective, maybe higher up on the spiral. You're not stuck in a loop. You're moving forward on a spiral, gaining new insights each time you encounter a similar challenge or theme.
And this spirals outward, doesn't it, into the rhythm of relationships. She sees them as living systems, too.
Yes, living systems that are constantly in motion. They require continuous engagement, flexibility, a willingness to navigate shifts and changes together. It isn't just about finding harmony and staying there. It's about growing through the inevitable challenges and dissonances together.
Which ties into the strength of vulnerability.
Yeah.
Sounds like another paradox. Strength in vulnerability.
It is. She frames vulnerability not as weakness, but as courage. The courage to stay open, to be authentic, to trust the process and each other, even when it's uncomfortable or uncertain. That openness allows for resilience in openness, the ability to bend without breaking, and truly growing through the cracks together.
Wow. So ultimately, becoming okay seems to tie it all together with the beauty of becoming. It's about finding the depth, the meaning, the satisfaction, not in some fixed destination or a perfect state,
Right, not in finally arriving somewhere.
but in the ongoing motion of life itself.
Mm.
Embracing imperfection, living authentically in what she calls a life in progress.
Exactly, perpetually living the dance of becoming without end. It's about finding fulfillment in the journey, in the process, in the becoming itself.
Okay, so who is Brooke Tamsin Clevenger, the architect of this really profound and intricate philosophy? Can you give us a quick sketch?
Sure, she's an incredibly interdisciplinary figure, an artist, a philosopher, and a technologist. And importantly, she has over 30 years of deep experience in systems integration.
So building complex, secure, scalable, resilient systems. That must deeply inform her philosophical work, right?
Absolutely. You can see that thinking woven throughout her philosophy, the focus on coherence, stability emerging from complexity, resilience, ethical frameworks as functional necessities. It's all there.
And her core philosophy, you mentioned, is encapsulated in a phrase, go vital, not viral. What does that mean?
It means she prioritizes creating things, whether systems, art, or ideas that have deep, meaningful, enduring connections. Things that foster emergent properties arising from kind, thoughtful interactions within the system. It's the opposite of chasing fleeting attention or superficial mass appeal.
Substance over clicks.
Exactly. Building systems, communities, or even just relationships that truly live and thrive organically based on their intrinsic value and coherence, not just hype.
And it's fascinating to see this philosophy in action, apparently, in her creative process, especially with the cognitive constellation core, or 3Cs she calls it, her musical project. How does she integrate AI there? Does it write the music?
No, not exactly. She thoughtfully incorporates advanced AI into her work, but crucially, not as the primary source of raw material or creativity. Instead, the AI is used as a sophisticated tool for refinement, enhancement, maybe exploring possibilities.
Like a collaborator.
Precisely. It embodies her philosophy of humanity and emerging technologies working together in partnership. It's a true collaboration where the AI helps sculpt, refine, and perhaps elevate the human creative impulse rather than replacing it.
And underpinning all of her work, you said, is something called Sevahem. Her personal philosophy.
Yes, Sevahem. It's her personal philosophy centered on service, truth, and resonance. It seems to be the deep wellspring that fuels both her creative and philosophical endeavors, representing her analog, perhaps, to achieving ultimate unity and harmony through aligned action.
Okay, this is a really rich and ambitious framework. So thinking bigger picture now, how does Clevenger's contemporary philosophy connect with, or maybe build upon, some of the great philosophical ideas of the past? Let's try and draw a few connections.
Yeah, that's a great way to ground it. Let's start with, say, Plotinus, the Neoplatonist philosopher. He talked about the one, this ultimate, undifferentiated source from which everything emanates or flows outward.
Right, the source of all being.
Exactly. Clevenger's SCP triad gives us a powerful lens, maybe a more mechanistic one, to understand how this emanation might actually work. Her singularity aligns pretty well with Plotinus's the one pure undifferentiated potential.
Right.
But where Plotinus described a more mystical or hierarchical outflow, Clevenger provides an active filtering mechanism, the harmonic field, and this is the key difference. For Clevenger, this filter, the cray, is fundamentally guided by ethical coherence. It's the inherent goodness or workability in the system that enables stable, manifest reality, the plane of incidention, to emerge. So she gives a potential how and why to Plotinus's what.
So she's not just saying reality flows from a source, but she's identifying the very mechanism and maybe the values that shape its coherence as it manifests. That's powerful. What's another strong connection we could draw?
Okay, think about David Bohm, the quantum physicist. His ideas of the implicate and explicate orders.
Ah, yes. The enfolded and unfolded reality.
Precisely. Bohm proposed there's this deeper enfolded hidden reality, the implicate order, from which our everyday manifest world, the explicate order, constantly unfolds and unfolds. Clevenger's SCP triad maps really beautifully onto the structure. The singularity is like the ground of the implicate order, the harmonic field is the dynamic process of unfolding, and the plane of incidention is the explicate order we experience.
Okay, that fits nicely. But what does she add?
Again, she adds a crucial layer. While Bohm described the what, explicate, and the how, the hollow movement, Clevenger asserts that ethical principles are a key guiding intelligence within this unfolding process. They provide a why. Why do stable, life-sustaining patterns tend to unfold from that deeper implicate order, rather than just random noise or destructive chaos? For Clevenger, it's because coherence, which includes ethical coherence, is favored by the filtering process.
So again, it's not just that reality unfolds, but there's potentially an inherent ethical or coherence-seeking compass guiding that unfolding.
Wow. Okay, one more connection.
Let's do Buckminster Fuller and his concept of tensegrity structures.
Okay, Bucky Fuller, domes and tension.
Exactly. Tensegrity structures are these fascinating designs. They maintain their structural integrity not through rigid stacked components like bricks, but through a continuous network of tension and compression members, wires and rods, basically. The key thing is they often get stronger as stress is applied, up to a point. They distribute the load. They're inherently anti-fragile.
Okay, I see the connection coming.
Right. Clevenger uses this as a powerful metaphor for resilient social systems. She argues that the most enduring and adaptive societies, institutions, or even relationships aren't built on rigid hierarchies, like stacked bricks. They're built on trust, mutual support, and ethical coherence functioning like a tensegrity structure.
So they grow stronger from challenges? Potentially, yes. Because they are built on flexible, interconnected relationships and shared values that can adapt and redistribute stress rather than shattering under pressure, it really reinforces her idea of networks over hierarchies as a fundamental principle of deep, lasting resilience.
So Clevenger's work really isn't just abstract theory then. It seems to synthesize these deep metaphysical questions with incredibly practical insights into how we can consciously try to shape a more coherent reality, both in our own lives and maybe collectively too. Wow, what a journey through this framework. I think the profound takeaway from this deep dive, really, is that the idea everything's okay isn't meant as a naive wish or some kind of simplistic platitude.
Not at all.
Instead, it seems to be a deeply reasoned understanding of how stability, meaning, and coherence can and do emerge from complexity, especially when guided by these ethical and rational filters Clevenger talks about.
And the real power, I think, lies in applying these ideas. We'd encourage you, the listener, to consider how consistently applying these filters in your own life. Things like honesty, empathy, rational inquiry, that commitment to continuous refinement, how that might transform your own not okay moments.
Turning them into opportunities.
Exactly. Opportunities for becoming okay, for fostering profound resilience, and maybe finding a more lasting sense of peace, even amidst the chaos.
So here's a final thought for you to maybe mull over.
Hmm.
If your own consciousness, your own ability to reason and make ethical choices are actually microcosms, small reflections of the universe's inherent tendency towards coherence, well, how might that change the way you approach the next challenge that comes your way?
Something to think about.
Definitely something to think about. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.